story is a living passion. I'm not crashing.
Hi, my name is Beanland and welcome to this week's painting demonstration. This week we're going to do a monochromatic painting, which means we're only going to use one color. The reason when you use one color, the only variable you have available in order to create a successful painting is value. So this is really a chance to isolate and study the concept of value. Now for my one color, I'm making a little bit of a change in that my one color is actually going to be a mixture of two colors. So I'm choosing to use dioxazine purple and a little permanent green light. I chose these two colors just because I think they're about as far as a normal mixture that I would ever use. So it's just a chance to experiment. Now the first wash I'm going to put on here is going to be really light. And I want lots of water. So that's 3 brushfuls, 4, etc. I want lots of water because I need to cover this whole page. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to cover the whole paper. And I see already, I can tell I didn't mix nearly enough. Except I want to carefully paint around the cabin here. So I need to make up just a touch more. There's what I want. And lots of water in there. Okay, now some of these little bits of white, I want to leave them because they can become quite useful later on in the painting process. So there I've got it all wet. And now comes the one thing that's a little technical. I want across here the hint of a distant point of land. And to do this, because this paper is all still very wet, I need the same color mixture. I just need to make sure that it's a darker value than this background. And the simplest way to do that is to test it. That's a little bit, but I think it's not going to be enough. So I need more pigment. And less water in there. In fact, what I'm going to do is get rid of some of this water. And I'm also going to switch to my jumbo round brush. And now I'll just mix this up again. And I'm going to test it again. It's getting there. I think I'd like to punch it up just a bit more. Let's see what that... Yes, I think that'll do. So I'm going to do one stroke across here. And then I'm going to just leave that and let it run. Now one thing because I want the bottom of this, because it's a point of land, I want the bottom to be fairly straight across. So I'm going to do two things. One, because the board's tilted, the paint is flowing down here, so I'm going to turn it around so it'll flow, a little hard to see, but it'll flow the way that I want it to. And the other thing I'm going to do is take my brush and actually clean up this edge. So I've wet my brush and then I get rid of all the water. I really squeeze that. So it's now a thirsty brush and it acts like a sponge. I just want to clean up the bottom edge of that. Okay, now I'm going to turn it back around here. Okay, I've dried the painting here. Now I'm going to come in with jump down the value scale. I'm going to come in with the same color that's just a little bit darker value and do these mid-ground trees here. So I just mix something that I feel is about, I'm just going to test it again. Yes, I think that'll work fine. I need to pay some attention just to the edges. I want this to be tree-like. I don't want just a hard edge, a straight edge, so I'm going to use a little bit of my old flicking technique. You see right there, I've instantly created tree shapes. And here, because the paper is buckling a little bit, I'm going to use that with a combination of the side of my brush this way. And this is, to me, very much a more realistic tree shape than if I tried to paint it. Okay, I'm going to come in and just carry on with this. So that'll go up there. That'll go up there. I'm going to leave a bit of a break here. The tape's a little wonky. And the rest I just quickly fill in. And I want this shape to come down in front of this background point of land. I have a few little things sticking out there. So I want that to come right down there. I'm going to be just, the only place I need to be careful is right around the edge of the building. And the rest I just quickly fill in. And this is really still a light value, just slightly darker than my previous one. I do really quite like those tree shapes there. Okay, and then I'm going to carry this down here into the foreground, and I'm going to now switch to my big bazooka, my 30 round, and I want to carry this wash down into here. And I'm going to leave, I'm going to try and get the sense of a bit of a pathway there. And these dry brush effects, like you see here, and some of these holes that I leave, I don't want to immediately think they're a mistake and fill them up. I'd rather work with them and to consider them almost as a gift in the painting process. The only thing is I don't want them, because they attract the attention, I don't want them near the edge of the paper. And what I'm going to do now is just take basically water. Well, it's got a little color in it, but not much. And I just want to wet this entire area so it'll soften it and it'll tone down that value a bit. Now I'm just going to switch to my number 12 round with just water on it. I'm going to blot some of it up, and I just want to come in and soften some of these edges here. Do it again, wet the brush, dry it off on my towel, and just wet some of these so it doesn't look, it breaks up some of that hard edge and it makes it look more realistic. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this dry. The one thing, that first wash I put here was darker than this, and because it has dioxazine purple, it stains the paper right away. So I just think I'm going to put a little bit to try and break up that edge that I've created there. So I took a little bit of my mixture, just put it in there, just with the idea of, so we don't see that sort of hard edge there. Okay, so once again, I'm going to take a second, dry this off. I just wanted to zoom in on that one section where you can see that flicking worked particularly well. That whole section in there, I just love that. The next wash I put on it, I'm going to step down the value scale one more time to have a value that is darker than this value. And that's just for these trees here. And because dark shapes attract the eye, I'm now starting to create a center of interest, and I'm creating an area that I believe will attract your eye right around this building, which of course is what the painting's all about. Both of these colors are very powerful, so as soon as I add too much, it changes too much, and then I got to go back and change it again. Anyway, I'm just going to, yeah, that's clearly a darker value there. And I just want it a little more to the green side. That'll do. And then I'm going to come in here. I'll see if my flicking will work think I got something on my brush. See if my flicking will work here. And because the paper is buckling so much, it's kind of hard. So what I'll do is first just, and I want to have these trees come somewhere to about there. And along the side of the building. And down there. So I'll use a little bit of the brush pointing this way, which I feel just gives me a better, more natural type shape. Yeah, that's fine for that. I want the same, I want kind of a bush here, which is going to help really define the edge of the house, the cabin on this side. Just tighten that up a little bit. And then I want to bring some of this darker value down here. So I'm going to bring a few, have a bit of a fence along there. Wherever I have these bits of white, that's a great opportunity to do some little flicks of grass. And I'm going to have kind of a, I'll have a, put a bush in here. And I think I just want to carry this on a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take water, because these blades of grass look a little bit isolated there. So I'm just taking water, blotting it up, and I'm going to soften some of these edges and encourage these shapes to run a little bit. And because water, when you allow it to do what it does best, will create shapes and effects that we're not really able to create strictly with the brush. So I'll do that. And I think what I may do is just bring, yes, a little bit of darker value color just to get some sense of something happening down here. And yeah, I quite like that. And then again, I don't want it to end with these hard edges, so I take pure water and I soften these edges. And I kind of have them fade away. Don't want to get rid of all the hard edges, but certainly a number of them. And then towards the edge of the paper, I don't want as much detail, so I'm really just taking water here. Now in watercolor, when you have a wet wash there, it's really, I find it very useful to consider it an opportunity. And it's an opportunity to use the water by putting some different color mixtures in and different values, because the water is going to play around with it. So I'm just hitting it, those where this stroke hits the dry paper, I get a sharp edge, but then when it hits the water, I just get a nice soft fuzzy shape, which I really quite like. But I want to keep these near my center of interest. Like if I put a real dark shape down there, it would destroy the unity of the paper, of the painting, because I want your eye to go around here.